Hey everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Broadcast to Your Audience using Google Hangouts on Air. I'm John, I'm the Associate Director of Production.
And I'm Fernando Maldonado, and I'm an Associate Producer here at Magnet.
And one of the coolest things about our job is that we get to hang out a lot.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. Hi, Kelly.
To be here was simply what I loved.
It's great to be hanging out with you.
Wow! We're living Keeping It Wild right now.
Google has taken a slightly different approach, I think, than the rest of the competition in this space.
That is the art of enchantment. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
So that's just a small sample of some of the Hangouts we've done over the last few years. We've done a lot of really great things, and we're really looking forward to what's next and taking the Hangout platform even further. But I guess before we talk about that, we should really talk about what exactly a Hangout on Air is and how it differentiates from just a regular Hangout.
So that's a really important point of distinction, because Hangouts are the Google platform for video calls, and that's where you can invite colleagues, family, friends, up to 10 people to participate in a video conference call using just a web camera and an internet connection. Hangouts on Air are the Google platform that lets you broadcast that video channel. So in this case, you don't have to participate in the Hangout as an on-camera participant in order to watch it. And that streams directly to YouTube and Google+.
Yeah, so by doing a Google Hangout on Air, it really allows you to reach a broader audience and to get your message out there and to establish yourself as your brand or to establish your brand in that space. Next, I guess we should really talk about why you should host a Hangout on Air. And kind of how we just talked about, it's a live online broadcast that allows you to engage with your audience. So what that means is that it's not just a video that you're putting out into the ether and hoping that people watch it. If you do a broadcast Hangout, you can allow people to join the conversation. So you're not just showing this and having people watch it, you're inviting them to experience the Hangout with you and to talk about it and continue the conversation even after the Hangout ends.
So the nice thing about this is because it's directly broadcasting to Google Plus and YouTube, those are built-in social channels that you can engage your audience and incorporate their perspective as it's broadcasting.
Right. For example, if you're watching on YouTube, you can just add your thoughts right now into the comment section, and we'll try to address any questions later on as we get to our Q&A section.
And this creates a more immediate experience in this way that by communicating directly to the viewer on camera, then you get to hear a response when they type in.
Right. And it also allows you to add in experts and participants in the same aspect of doing a Hangout, but you can now do it so that they can also talk to your audience. So if you were doing a talk and you had your thought leader who was in your main section, you can have another thought leader join that conversation in a situation where maybe these two people wouldn't normally be together. By bringing in these participants from multiple locations, you just extend that conversation and you allow people to talk further about it, again, creating something that's much more interesting than a simple, talk.
And the great thing about that is that you get to tap into those influencers' existing social channels, audiences, and you're extending your audience that way. One of the things we do here at Magnet is we vet any offsite talent. So any talent that is dialing in that doesn't have full production support, we walk them through their whole setup, making sure their video quality is up to snuff and their internet connection, basically making sure they're familiar with how to participate in a Hangout effectively.
Yep, and so again, we can't stress this enough, but the Hangout platform broadcast, the Hangout platform on Air, allows anyone to watch it. So you don't have to have a Gmail to log in like you do for a regular Hangout. You can just push this out, again, on your G+ page, on your website, anywhere. That link that was generated once you do a live broadcast can be shared anywhere you need it to be so everyone can watch it. And what's great about the platform is that you can, like Fernando mentioned earlier, you can just do it with a simple camera and an internet connection, but there's an opportunity for you to add that extra value to it. So bringing in studio lights or backdrops or better audio really just ups the level of professionalism and helps get your message out there.
I think one thing that's worth touching on is the distinction between private and public audiences. So through Google+, you can invite specific audiences by adding specific emails to Google+, and only those viewers are allowed to watch. In the case for this Hangout, we're using an unlisted YouTube link. So by sharing that link, anyone with the link can view it, but it's still private, it's not on our public YouTube channel.
Right, so it's exclusive to you guys for watching now, but you can do it in the same way that we could share it with anyone that you want after it's live. giving you guys kind of the inside baseball talk about how it goes first. So there are a few different types of Hangouts that we've done in the past. There's the instructional type, there's the experiential type. So we want to talk a little bit more about that and see where that'll really help your brand get your message out. So the instructional video is something that we did for Weight Watchers during Thanksgiving time, and it was a cooking live recipe type of show where we used talent to create something, and they talked about the points of what Weight Watchers wanted to talk, their point system, and how to survive during eating during Thanksgiving. The great thing about that was that we used Anna Gasteyer, who had an existing audience, who then shared and watched that video, and also tweeted so that we could have an interaction between the viewers and the host.
So the great thing about having something like a cooking demonstration is that seeing recipes and cooking demonstrations on TV, there's always that kind of air of disbelief of like, okay, well, yeah, they're just kind of, fudging that. But having a Hangout on Air and you're having a live broadcast and having the host make this recipe in real time while fielding questions from viewers made it a really immediate experience, which the Hangout allows you to do.
Right, and we added in a few people who had food blogs to also join that conversation so that they could then push that message out to their viewers as well. Another example of a type of Hangout that we've done is the informational type. This is something where it's very, very simple, very kind of, quote-unquote TED Talk style, where you have an expert who's discussing what their topic is and pushing it out to the audience, allowing the audience to participate, again, through social networks, or bringing in additional influencers to keep that conversation and keep it more interesting for viewers.
And so the thing about this is that it really helps you establish yourself as a thought leader and in your area of expertise, and adds value to your YouTube channel because you can have these videos that are talking about a given topic just live there, and they're good for well after the broadcast ends.
Right, and that's something I think we should touch on now, even before we go further, that once the broadcast is over, it's not that the video just disappears. Your video is then put directly onto your YouTube page for it to live live there as long as you need it to. So again, allowing you to establish your content and then push that further out into syndication or distribution or anything along those lines.
And so the nice thing about this is that if you want a different experience for the live broadcast versus how this video will live on your YouTube channel after, what we do is we can have a Hangout that broadcasts lives, and after that we kind of make it private, and then we can edit it down into any variety of formats. If it's like an hour-long Hangout, we've edited it down to a sizzle reel that highlights the best moments from that Hangout. We've also edited down individual segments, so if it's an hour-long conversation talking about a wide variety of topics, and you want your viewers to more easily zero in on those individual topics, they have individual videos within your YouTube channel in order to do that.
Right, so taking one piece of content you've created and now creating additional content with that, all within the same timeline. So you're creating 6, 7 pieces all from one talk that you can push out and have people watch and own the space that you're living in.
So you get a lot of mileage out of that.
Yeah,
one broadcast.
absolutely.
We're getting ahead of ourselves, though.
We are absolutely getting ahead of ourselves.
We should go back to...
Right. Well, I was going to use what you said about creating a sizzle to segue into our experiential type of Hangout. So what this is it gives your audience access to an activity or a location or something that they otherwise wouldn't be able to see. So these types of broadcasts are really out of the box. They're really different, and this is what really gets us excited. It's something that has really never been done before, and something that we did for Toyota and the Keeping It Wild Hangout was we actually went out into the middle of the desert where there was no internet and brought a car offline, brought a car off-roading so that they could see how the car would react to different terrains.
And so the great thing about this was that we had a bunch of different cameras set up. We had GoPros in the actual vehicle, and that lets the viewer actually be in the car as they're testing it, which was really fun. And we also had, at the same time, had people calling in from other locations who had blogs, who had auto blogs, had a host kind of interacting with the talent in the car, so that with Toyota reps talking about the car. So it was a really immersive experience with a bunch of different people on camera.
Right, and then after that was done, after the Hangout was over, we created a sizzle reel just to show everybody even what was happening during the Hangout, as to not watch the full 40 minutes, but to push that out. And also we created a behind-the-scenes video that showed the work that went into it, and the months and months of prep that happened there. Another great example of the experiential type of Hangouts is the Maker Camp field trips that we did last summer. This was a really great experience because we, excuse me, we went to do 10 different locations, and we invited kids to watch the Hangouts, and we took them to locations that they never would have had the chance to go to. I mean, we went to Jim Henson's Creature Shop, we went to Disneyland, Lego in Denmark.
We were spoiled.
Yeah.
We were absolutely spoiled.
So it was just a really great opportunity to take that style of a Hangout and bring it out into an audience that, again, would never be able to experience. I mean, you can't fly 50 kids to Denmark to go see where Legos are made.
And the fun thing for us is that we participated basically in this existing program of Maker Camp, which had a daily camp through Hangouts on Air, and our role was in the field trips, and so our cameras and our role in that was to basically be the surrogate camper, and so it was a very show and tell kind of and gave us access to these locations that we wouldn't have.
Yeah,
otherwise.
And we'll put all these links up on the YouTube page, as well as probably once we edit the video, you'll have them be able to click right here. And I'm just doing this because that's something I've always wanted to do. So cool. To talk a little bit more about what happens after the Hangout, again, the content that you're creating in the Hangout lives on for as long as you need it to. We talked a little bit about creating sizzles and copying out other information from there to create things for you to push out. But the big thing is that you can, they're posted immediately to your Google Plus page or to your YouTube page, and it allows us to continue that conversation even when it's done. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. So there's also a section here where we talk about taking the Hangout that you've created and using it in the syndication network that's being developed by Magnet. And I'm trying not to get really salesy here. But you can use it to have other influencers who are in these topics of discussion to push it out to their audiences and allow people to see it again and keeping it going and creating almost like an evergreen content.
Yeah, I mean, Hangouts on Air are a great example of making content in order to, instead of commercials, right? I mean,
right.
You're having content that could be used, and you're driving viewers to see that content and getting a lot of mileage out of it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you're not creating commercials. You're just creating these experiences for people to view and watch. So we're going to take a quick pause here to do a little Q&A to see what's coming through from you guys on the YouTube channel. So I'm just logging into the YouTube page here to see what the questions are coming through. So one of the comments here we have is about Meerkat. And so Meerkat is a new format that is doing live streaming right to your Twitter page. So this differs a little bit about really right now, we're using a very professional camera and pitching it out to the Hangout, right? So we're not using a phone or anything like that. That's what makes the quality look so good. And we're in a studio with lights and professional recording. So there's definitely a difference in creating something that's a little bit more polished as opposed to creating something that is just more immediate. But you still have the ability with a Google Hangout to do an immediate thing and have it be polished. So that was my note on that. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No,
let's see. So the next thing we have here.
I mean, in terms of social integration, I guess one thing to touch on with Google Plus and with YouTube, you're using people's Google profiles, and so this is something that a lot of people have in their daily lives for Gmail, for Calendar, for any number of the apps that Google offers. So it's very easy for your audience to tune in.
Right.
It's probably very easy for you to tune in today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's as simple as clicking a link, right? I mean, there's no secret here. It's really easy. So one of the other questions we got coming in here is about Maker Camp. It says that someone is super curious about the project and to talk a little bit about our favorite parts of it. So do you want to talk a little bit about what your experience was?
It's just, I mean, being in the Henson Creature Shop, I mean, you're just going to talk about that too, so I'll just let you talk. But just like being where the magic happens, I mean, it was just like, why me? How did I get? I mean, it was cool. It was cool to, I mean, talk to everyone who makes that happen and kind of geek out about it, and just having that access, I just felt absolutely spoiled that we were able to be there.
Yeah, and I mean, to play off of that, I mean, being at the Henson Creature Shop is just a dream come true. But not to make this all about Jim Henson Creature Shop.
It's hard not to.
But yeah, it was being there and being kind of in this behind the scenes exclusive feel that you're then able to bring out to people and let them experience it as well. I mean, there's no video right now of what goes on at the Jim Henson Creature Shop, except for the Maker Camp video that we created.
It's such a casual and friendly way of just kind of people talking.
Right.
In the moment, and the other aspect of that was feeling like we were, by us being spoiled and having this access to the space, our job was to basically share that access,
right,
and to take our experience being there and drive that into the Hangout through the camera, so that any kid who was watching it felt like they were there and had the hands-on experience that we were able to have.
Yep. So to talk real quick about what the difference was between, say, the Maker Camp experience and the Toyota Hangout experience, where the Toyota Hangout was done very, very big, right? It was a very big production. It was done with like 15 cameras, 4 or 5 days of prep. These Maker Camp videos were done in a style that was very like, what we call them? Scrappy.
Run and gun.
Yeah,
scrappy.
Run and gun. The camera acted as, I think you mentioned, a surrogate
POV kind of.
camper. So the POV of the camera was what the camera was seeing is what a camper would normally be seeing. So it was just a very different style, and that's really a great thing about these Hangouts is it allows you to create any style that you want or any style that makes sense for what the content is that you're creating.
Yeah, they're scalable.
Absolutely.
Because for the Maker Camps, it was John and myself and a crew of about 3 or 4 people.
Right. And then for the Toyota Hangout, I mean, we were looking at like a crew of like 30 people.
At least.
Yeah.
At least. But the nice thing about that, having the small crew of Maker Camp, we left a very small footprint. So we weren't disruptive into what was going on in these places. And we were able to really, that's why we were able to have the access we were. It's because we didn't need the time and resources that a full 30, 40 people crew might need.
Right, right. So we got another question that comes in here, and it says, hey guys, can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges that have come up in convincing clients that the best route is producing a Google Hangout?
It's interesting.
So it's kind of a tough question, but one of the biggest challenges I think people look at, or clients will look at, is why do a Google Hangout? What's the benefit? And again, I think one of the biggest things that we can say is that the benefit of doing a Google Hangout is it's immediate. You can come up with the topic 2 or 3 days beforehand, and in the sense of what we just talked about with Maker Camp, like we can get boots on the ground and be ready to go in a day and a half, as long as we can have access to an internet and a camera connection.
Hardwire internet connection.
Yeah, hardwire internet connection. We can really make it happen.
The other thing for sometimes when talking with clients, it's they may be committed to the idea of doing a live stream. And what we push is the Google Hangout, and the reason for that is the social integration and how easy it is as a viewer. Because with different applications that you have to download or different plugins or any other, like I said before, Google is integrated in a very easy way to daily life, and being able to just jump on YouTube or Google+. And if you have a Google+ profile, accessing all the benefits of that within the RSVPing, having it appear in your calendar, and commenting on that page, you can do that as well.
All right. So really loving the Q&A here. We've got another question that's come in that says, could you talk about what makes a successful Hangout? Is it the amount of people that are watching it live, or how many people see the video afterwards?
That's interesting. I don't know.
I think
exclusive, right?
Yeah, they're not exclusive, and I think more the answer is, did you get your message across, and was it portrayed in the way that you wanted to? Was it portrayed in an interesting way that people are really going to want to see? Excuse me. So it's not about how many people are watching the video, or specifically about how many people are watching the video afterwards. It's really about making sure that you're delivering that message, and that the message is being received by the audience. So if you only have 15 people who are watching a Hangout now, but then that video gets pushed out to 100,000, it's not that big a deal. It's as long as your message is concise and ready, that's really where, that's to me is what a successful Hangout is.
Yeah, I mean, and being a live viewer, the benefit is obviously being able to participate in a way that is different when after. Mm-hmm. It's not as immediate, but there is the social integration that you can still take part in. But like you said, it doesn't make or break a Hangout.
Right. So just to give a little example about that specifically is that I think roughly only 2,000 people watched the Toyota Hangout live. But then that went out to millions of people afterwards who've seen the video. So, so we're looking at 18,000 people have seen the sizzle video, roughly right about
Yeah,
now. And I'm sure that number is going up as we talk about it.
Yeah, and the actual live viewers might have been even less than 2,000.
Right. Cool. So let's try to see if there's any more Q&A questions that come through. Is there anything more that you want to talk about?
I think I've said my piece.
So I guess one of the things, maybe we skipped over it, or maybe we just went through it a little too quickly, but I just want to make sure that it's understood that the big difference between a Google Hangout and a Google Hangout on Air is your ability to broadcast it out. I mean, a Hangout is very personable. It's you and 10 people, or it's you and only people that you invite to that Hangout. And a Hangout on Air is a way for you to get your message out into the world. There's been talks about using the Google Hangout on Air as like a PR platform, right? So kind of using the Hangout to broadcast an immediate response to something that's happening in a way that's very cost effective. Let's see. Sorry, it's being typed in right now. So one of the questions that's coming through is how can you bump your YouTube presence with a Google Hangout? Again, I think this is just a matter of making sure that once the video is done, or once the Hangout is over, making sure that that is shared the right way and it's communicated with the right people, and then it's pushed out the right way. I mean, like nobody creates a video. There's no content that's created where it just immediately goes viral, right? I mean, that's just it's not a thing. It's not a real thing. So it's just a matter of making sure that you're using a network in a way to share out that video so that people are seeing it and then sharing it with their network.
I think, and to go off of that, as something I mentioned before, is getting the mileage out of your Hangout. So by doing a talk that is an hour, 2 hours, however long you want to make it, that reaches one audience. And by cutting it down to segments, you reach another audience who's looking for more isolated points, and then having the sizzle will let you kind of attract new audience. So all within 1 day of production.
Right.
That's the thing. It's 1 day of production, and then once it's done, it's already up there. So you still have that, and you just add to it over time with one session of filming.
So another question that came through here is, when would someone choose a private Hangout rather than a public?
So we've done Hangouts with large corporations that are internal meetings that are accessing offices all around the world, and they want to make sure they have the support that they need in order to the people dialing in to ask questions are solid and basically that their message is being reached across. So it depends on your needs.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's great for, like, if you're going to address a company. If you're headquartered in London but you want to broadcast out to everybody, it's real easy for everyone to just get in separate conference rooms and sign into the Hangout. And you can even do a screen share, which will allow you to share any presentation or anything else that you have on your screen. We can get into the really nitty-gritty of Hangouts, but I think that's for another webinar. Yeah. Another question I have here is, what if I don't have the budget to use professional cameras? Do you think it's worthwhile to still try the live platform versus cameras on my phone and laptop? I mean, I think that's a question for you. It's a question that it just depends on what you're trying to do and how you want to get it out there. I mean, I still think it's worthwhile to use the Hangout platform because, again, it allows you to reach that audience, that you already have. So you're just tapping into an existing audience. But if you budget, obviously, if you can always up your game, you always should. And I'm not trying to do that from a sales point. It's just a matter of it looking cleaner. I mean, we could have very easily used our laptop cameras here, but you got to choose where to kind of do that give and take.
Yeah, you'd be looking at the bottom of our face. But I think it's definitely. I mean, it's worth experimenting.
Absolutely.
I mean, especially if you're undecided about whether kind of scaling this up, doing it yourself and just getting a feel for what the platform has to offer is a huge opportunity that's costless.
Right.
And they're best practices for having automatic webcams. I mean, just making sure that when you have limited control of the tools you're using, you just want to make sure you have the best circumstances for your video.
Sure. So next question that came in is, how do I promote my Hangout to my audience? So I think this is a great way to talk about what we kind of did today. I mean, we shared, we created a Hangout on our Google Plus event. We created an event on our Google Plus page, and then that generated a link for people to then share it that way. I mean, we also created a landing page on our website for when you could see the video and sign up to receive a link or and for a link for the Hangout. And there's also, I mean, the option of just, tweeting it out. Use social media channels to get it out there.
When you create an event on a Google Hangout, there are options for you to upload branding. So for when your broadcast hasn't started, there's a countdown when you go to YouTube, but also you can include thumbnails. You can also include a trailer. We've done that too, so that once you're directed to that page, there's not just this TBD video thumbnail. You can click on it and it could play a little trailer or like I said, a thumbnail, providing more information. And with, like I've been kind of harping on with the Google integration, just kind of adding people in your circles, you're reaching connections you've already made and promoting it, and that'll go on your Google Plus page and it'll get pushed out to the Hangouts on Air. Yeah,
using that audience that you already have in your Google Plus page and then allowing you to engage and interact directly with that audience. It's almost as if the work has already been done for you. It's not like you have to go out and create this list of people. They're already there. Your audience is already there. It's just now you have to take that time to engage with them. So next question here says, what separates Magnet Media as a production partner of Google Hangouts? Is it you just have production? Is it just the production equipment you have? If it was just the equipment, there would be equipment sitting here right now talking to you. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things that separates us from other companies would just be we're not afraid. Doing the Toyota Hangout, they said, hey, we want to take a car out to the desert, and we were like, cool, let's figure this out. We just had another Hangout that we did that was a really big challenge where we had multiple locations trying to sync everything up. It's just that we're not afraid, and we're always looking for what's next and testing the waters and seeing how we can continue to push this bar and elevate it so that we just improving it and using the platform just to tell better stories.
And I think the other thing is we really got in on the ground floor when it came to Hangouts. We've been involved very early on, and a lot of our processes and equipment and all our setup is something that we've developed over a long time and kind of troubleshot. Do you want to speak more to, you were involved in pretty early ones too?
Yeah, I mean, some of the early ones were real simple. I mean, they were actually very similar to this setup. It's one camera, a bunch of lights, and people just addressing, talking to an audience. When we first did those were super challenging because it was just a matter of making sure that, hey, we're on Wi-Fi. Oh wait, Wi-Fi is not reliable. You got to use an internet, direct line. So it's little things that we've just learned over the years of how to make things better and how to keep improving things. I would say 4 months ago we wouldn't have been able to do a pre-roll video that we just did today. So it's just the constant learning and the constant want to do things better.
We're also getting distinguished by using the Google Plus platform. Right. That's a big thing. We try to take advantage of that. Through the Google Plus platform, you can also start Hangouts on Air through YouTube, which we can do and have done. But using the Hangout as it has been designed, we're really into kind of capitalizing on that.
Right, and then again, it allows us to capitalize on the audience that's already been established. So another question that came through here is, can you think of some brands that should be trying to use the Google Hangout platform that haven't tried it yet?
Who's watching?
Every one of you should be trying it. No, I mean, this is one of those things where it's just a matter of figuring out what you want to say and who you want to say it to and making that connection. Magnet Media does Hangouts all the time, and this is the first time we're doing a Hangout about a Hangout. So, it's our first time of doing a Hangout with our audiences. We've been doing Hangouts for years with other audiences. But, if I had to pick one off the top of my head, that a brand that should be doing it, I don't know. It's like really a curveball question here.
Jim Henson Creature Shop.
Yeah, again.
Hangouts all day.
They haven't paid us, we swear. I think there's a really great opportunity for brands like Mattel or toy brands to even reach an audience that's a little bit younger. and doing things that way. I mean, there's a great technology out there that allows you to do animated characters that can talk this way. So you can tie that in. Maybe not to get too brand specific, but maybe you could do a hangout where your audience is actually talking with Barbie. I mean, there's the sky's the limit with this stuff. And I think it's really just a matter of a brand taking a chance or wanting to take a chance.
Yeah, the nice thing is that the Hangouts on Air give you a skeleton of like the format and of the technology, and you just take it and run with it wherever you want. I mean, a lot of those ideas that we've done wasn't something that comes as like an obvious option.
Right,
For sure.
Yeah.
Flying in the internet. I mean, it's not really a thing that we even thought of, like, should we be doing this? It was just something that came up, and it was like, oh, yeah, of course.
Of course. Yeah, no problem. We'll figure it out. That's always our answer, is we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
So just kind of wrap up the Q&A section here. We have a couple questions that we want to ask you guys to talk about what you think about doing Google Hangouts. I mean, I think some of the key questions that you need to ask yourself before doing a Google Hangout is, who is the audience you're trying to target? Is it a specific audience in your larger network? Is it your entire network? Is it something very concise? What's the message that you want to get out, and who are the people you're directing it to, and how focused can you get that? And the next thing is, what are you trying to communicate? Again, focusing on that message, making sure that message is clean and clear and ready to be broadcast. And next is thinking about that message, and how do you create something that's exciting and spontaneous and happens live, and kind of just gives it a different feel than just say, hey, I'm the CEO of a company and here's my message. It's, hey, I'm the CEO of a company and we're in the middle of the desert broadcasting my message.
In the desert.
It's a little bit, it's just a little bit more exciting. It's things that people want to watch. It's people that want to talk about. So really, if you guys think about those questions, that's then where we can start to come in and work with you to make sure that we're making it the best we can make it. So that's kind of it for the Q&A section, unless something else really comes in immediately. Nope, nothing. Okay, great. So next we kind of want to talk a little bit just about the future of Hangouts. So obviously Hangouts are still a growing medium right now, and there's a really great opportunity for you to take your brand and drive it into this digital space and own the content that's being created there. I mean, while we do a ton of Hangouts, it's for a lot of brands that are exactly the same. So it's an opportunity for you to just take your brand out there. I mean, why can't a trash bag company do a Hangout? I mean, why they shouldn't only be tech companies doing Hangouts. There should be other things. Financial industry should be doing Hangouts so they can talk to younger audiences about saving money or investing in 401ks.
And having people ask questions, because that's confusing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and again, just to talk about the potential of Hangouts is that you can do almost anything anywhere. I mean, we talked about doing it in the desert. We talked about connecting multiple cities. The sky is really the limit. And to be honest with you, Fernando and I are both ready to get certified for space travel. So I don't know if anybody out there is ready to do a Hangout for Mars, but we're game.
I'm not ready for Mars.
You're not ready?
I'm not ready for Mars.
Well, I'll get Fernando ready for Mars. If you guys want to do a Hangout for Mars, we will definitely do that. But that's it for us today, and we want to thank you for spending a half hour with us. Really appreciate it. For more information, please reach out to our website or contact us directly. And thanks for hanging out with us.